Namaste and hello everyone. I am Dr. Aditi. Welcome to Ayurved's Facebook Live. Before I proceed with the main session, can someone from my team let me know if I'm audible properly? Yes, I can see that Rajgopal sir is online. Am I audible properly, Rajgopal sir? Alright, if you can just give me a go ahead, I will proceed with my talk. Alright, okay. So, guys, welcome again to Ayurved's Facebook Live. This is my second session in the gut series, and today I'll be talking on impaired appetite and digestion. But before I do that, I just want to give a quick recap of what happened in the last week's talk. I spoke on gut immunity, I spoke on gut microbiome, and I also spoke on how to maintain gut health. Alright. Is the sound okay? Yeah, okay. Hello Shri Krishna ji. Nice to see you again. Okay. So in my last week's talk, as you all know, that the first line of defense against disease-causing pathogens is our digestive system, and the components that manage this include the stomach acid. There is the good bacteria. There are the good bacteria which are present in the large intestine, what we medically call as gut microbiome, and an active immune system that keeps the disease-causing pathogens away. Now, one very interesting point that I pointed out last time is that 80% of our immune system is present in our gastrointestinal tract, which is why it is really important to take care of our appetite and digestion. And this was a summary of my previous talk. Moving ahead, now, before I move on to the main topic, I would like to narrate a small incident on why I choose to go with this topic of impaired appetite and digestion today. A patient in his early 40s, I think, approached our clinic a few years back for multiple joint pains, which were chronic. And when I took the initial history, after assessing how his pain started, so the location, the grading of the pain, and all of that, my next level of questions were on his digestion. I think he was visibly, I noted that he was visibly surprised when I asked him, how is your appetite and what do you feel about your digestion? And then he goes in Hindi, he says, Doctor, problem to yahan hai, bhook ka kya lena dena? So that means in English, translated saying, Doctor, my problem is here in the elbow and my knees, and what is the relation with appetite and digestion? So if the answer to this query is what you will learn in today's talk. According to our science, according to Ayurveda, impaired appetite and digestion are a basis for all diseases. The bottom line is, if the digestive system works properly, it works well, many diseases that you are seeing today on a greater basis, like obesity, joint pain, cancer, diabetes, heart diseases, inflammatory conditions, autoimmune conditions where our body immunity attacks us, all of this can be reduced or prevented to a great extent by correcting imbalances in our digestion. And today we will understand how these imbalances occur and ways to correct them. What is appetite? The physiology of appetite is, it is the desire to eat. The purpose that it serves is it regulates our energy intake and maintains our metabolic needs as an individual. When it comes to digestion, the physiology is something like this. Digestion is the breakdown of larger insoluble food molecules into smaller water-soluble food molecules so that they can be transported through the watery blood plasma throughout the body. Now, there are two kinds of digestion. One is mechanical digestion and second is chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion is where we physically break down the food by chewing into smaller pieces, which can be subsequently be assessed by the digestive enzyme. Alright, okay, I'm going to talk. This is on my Bluetooth, and alright, I'll be talking a little bit loudly. And in the chemical digestion, enzymes break down into smaller food molecules that the body can use. Now, through this process of digestion, food is transformed into energy which is needed for our existence, which is needed to build our immune system, our body defenses, and our development. I know that many of you are familiar with modern medical terminologies, like you know all about inflammation, you know about autoimmunity, you know about the hydrochloric acid in our stomach. But today I want to take this platform, use this platform to make you guys familiar with certain basic Ayurvedic concepts, like the concept of Agni and the concept of Ama. The talk what I'm going to give from now on is for the general people, not the medical stuff more. It is for the general audience to understand, non-medical audience I mean, to understand what exactly is Agni and Ama and what is the relevance of it in Ayurveda. Now, Agni. It is, when we use the term Agni, it means that it is the digestive fire of the body. It is responsible for all digestive processes that take place in our body. If Agni is functioning properly, our body can effectively digest food. It can absorb all the substances that are necessary for its maintenance, and at the same time get rid of the toxic waste regularly without any issues, without any problems. So basically the cycle of digestion, absorption and assimilation is done by Agni, and if this process is correct, it increases Ojas, which is our vitality, which is our vital energy and immunity. So in Ayurveda, Ojas is the highest form of energy, and it helps build us better immunity and better well-being. The functions of Agni, let me tell you this, are not just related to digestion. There is a bigger picture to this. Ayurveda considers Agni to be the cause of life. It is the cause of our complexion, it is the cause of our strength, our health, our nourishment, our luster, our ojas, our immunity, and most importantly, our prana, which is our life energy. Hey KM, thanks for watching again. Now what happens if this Agni is not functioning normal? What happens if it goes weak? If it leads to a substance formation called Ama. The concept of Ama is very, very unique to Ayurveda. In Sanskrit, it literally means that which is unripe or raw or immature. So basically it is a form of unmetabolized waste that is of no use to the body, that cannot be utilized by the body. To some extent, there is normal amounts of formation of Ama is there in everybody, but that Ama that is formed is thrown out effectively. But the problem arises when it is not cleared and eliminated, and that becomes the cause for many, many diseases. In fact, Ayurveda says that Ama is the root cause of all the diseases that we are seeing today. When the Ama is in the digestive tract, it is very easy to clear it. But once it starts spreading to the deeper tissues, it clogs them, it clogs the channels of the body, it disrupts tissue nutrition. All of this gives rise to diseases that we are seeing today, that is diabetes, hypertension, thyroid, obesity and whatnot. So basically this Ama can disrupt the process of a cell at a very, very physiological level. Now, if the Ama is there in the digestive tract, how can you guys identify it? How can a normal person identify it? Here are a few quick symptoms. There will be loss of appetite. People will prolongedly suffer from indigestion. They will prolongedly have malabsorption. They will have a lot of vitamin and mineral deficiencies. They will always complain of bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, sticky stools, or itching at the anal region. So these are the signs and symptoms of identifying Ama, which is present in our digestive tract. I am not going obviously into the deeper version of it, but this accumulated Ama, it travels through our body and it might get settled in places that are already weak. For example, in the case that I was talking about, the 42-year-old, it got accumulated in his joints. That led to joint pains at an early age of 42 years. He was struggling with joint pains and inflammation at the age of 42 years. So it is just not about treating joint pains in general, giving Ayurvedic, joint painkillers as some of you guys say, but this is just temporary symptomatic relief. When we deal with the root cause, when we digest this Ama, when we restore the nutrition to all the tissues, and channels of circulation, that is when the disease can get reversed. And all diseases that occur as a result of ama, and ama is the result of incorrect functioning of Agni. Okay, I hope I am clear till here. I hope this is not too medical for you guys. So now let's learn about what are the frequent causes of indigestion that we see in our day-to-day life. The first is obviously disobeying the dietary rules. We know people around us have irregular food habits. That is one of the chief causes of indigestion today. People who eat excessively spicy, oily and heavy food lead to overloaded intestines, overloaded stomach. Everyone has irregular meal timings. All of this lead to indigestion. Please remember that it is very important to allow the Agni, very important to allow the digestive fire to fully process one meal before you have the next. So please eat only when you are hungry. Overeating, insufficient eating are also detrimental to digestion process, and the way we drink water before or after meals is also a big cause of indigestion. I'll just explain that in a while. Today's generation has another problem, which is an irregular sleeping pattern that we frequently encounter in all our patients. When a person is sleep deprived, the immune system creates excess of pro-inflammatory cytokines, that is, it creates chemicals that cause inflammation in our gut. Now what happens when these chemicals, when we don't have a proper sleep pattern, these chemicals keep releasing in the gut, and it leads to production of irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, all the inflammatory diseases of the gut. Both excessive sleeping and less amount of sleep interfere with regular process of digestion. I hope I am clear till here. Thank you, Rajgopal sir. Then there are certain medications like antibiotics, painkillers, steroids, oral contraceptives that interfere in the digestion process and cause irregularities. People who are having liver diseases, pancreatic diseases, gallbladder diseases, intestinal parasites, all of them suffer from indigestion. Then physiologically speaking, in women especially, indigestion can occur in pregnancy, menstruation and menopause, which we don't term as diseases to be specific. The last and the most important cause is stress and anxiety. When our mind is not peaceful, body functions are affected in a negative manner that Sharad sir was talking about the other day. Emotional stress, anxiety, depression negatively affect our digestive system in many ways. These things, they cause a decrease in blood flow and oxygen flow to the stomach. They cause stomach cramping. They cause imbalance in the gut bacteria, leading to gut inflammation. So all of these are the most common causes of indigestion and impaired appetite that we see on a day-to-day basis. Now, this is my most favorite subject in Ayurveda. When I spoke about Agni, the digestive fire, Ayurveda categorizes that Agni into 4 basic types. I was very elated when I learnt about this because I thought I found a deeper meaning to medicine. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain these 4 categories, and at the same time I'm going to give a home assessment for you guys. So the parameters what I'm talking about, you can go back, you can just note down, assess them and see under what category of Agni you fall. Alright? But just a word of caution, you do need to visit an Ayurveda physician in order to understand these concepts clearly and initiate proper treatment with reference to your health. And another reason why I am stating this today is because I want you guys to identify if there is Agni imbalance that you guys have, and you can begin small steps before you go to the actual treatment for correction and help your Agni come back to balance. Alright? So guys, grab a pen and paper. I'll give you a few seconds. Grab a pen and paper and note down these key points that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk a lot of Sanskrit words, so either Rajgopal sir or Rajeshri doctor can just type it down in the comment section so our audience, general non-medical audience, can understand them. Thank you. I'm going to give a few seconds here, guys. Okay. So like I said, Agni is of 4 types. The first type of Agni is Samagni, which is the normal digestive fire. It is characterized by strong and appealing appetite, and it is that is satisfied with normal food. All the digestive functions are proper. There are no episodes of gas, colic or constipation. It digests and assimilates food properly at proper time. And this is the kind of Agni that increases the quality of our tissues, that is the supportive dhatus of our body. And people who are having Samagni are always known to be hale and healthy, and having Samagni should be our health goal from today onwards. Thank you, KM. Very motivating. Thank you. So the first kind is Samagni. Dr. Rajeshri might include that in the comment section. Now the second one is Vishamagni. Vishama means irregular. This kind of digestive fire is disturbed by Vata. Because there is a variability in Vata, what happens is these kind of people, they suffer from alternating cycles of strong appetite with loss or no appetite. That means throughout the day, the person might have a very strong appetite at one point of the day, and there is zero or very, very low appetite at other time. It can vary a lot. This kind of Agni is very, very irregular. So what happens in patients with Vishamagni is irregular appetite, indigestion, abdominal distension, there is gas trouble all the time, there is gurgling sounds in the intestine, constipation, or sometimes constipation gets alternated with diarrhea. That means there are alternate constipation sometimes and sometimes diarrhea. Now, Vishamagni not just affects, not just causes problems in the gut, but there are certain systemic symptoms that include dry mouth, there is dry skin as well, there is constant cracking sounds in the joints. People having Vishamagni most often suffer from sciatica, low back pain, and piles, muscular spasms, and sometimes disturbed sleep, which is insomnia. Now, another criteria for identifying if you have Vishamagni is people with Vishamagni have cravings for very hot, spicy, or fried foods. Alright? And emotionally, these people, they tend to have anxiety, fear, and insecurity a lot. So now that you are clear about identifying features of Vishamagni, here are a few suggestions for strengthening an irregular digestive fire according to diet, lifestyle, and just one or two herbs. So when it comes to diet, if you know somebody suffering with Vishamagni, you need to give a Vata pacifying diet. That means a Vata reducing diet. You need to include a lot of good fats and nourishing foods in it. Include organic ghee, sesame oil, and olive oil in it. And one small piece of remedy, what you can do is take a small slice of ginger, mix a pinch of salt in it, and then ask them to have this 30 minutes before their meals. So this practice on a regular basis corrects Vishamagni. This is just do it at home. Now when it comes to lifestyle, such people need to establish a routine of waking up on time, eating on time, and going to sleep on time. I also recommend Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, which is alternate nostril breathing to relax and calm down the nervous system. My colleague Celia will show you the process of Nadi Shodhana Pranayama in few sessions in next week. Then we also recommend gentle exercises. There is light jogging, and Surya Namaskar is really helpful in such patients, sun salutations. Now when it comes to herbs, you need to talk to your Ayurveda physician about formulas that are specifically balancing Vata dosha. I know that many of you take Triphala over the counter, but if you have identified yourself that you're taking Vishamagni and you're also taking Triphala, I would not recommend that. I would recommend only Haritaki. Triphala has 3 contents, Haritaki, Amlaki, and Vibhitaki. I would like to say that you guys need to take Haritaki in more quantity to specifically balance the Vata which is deranged in Vishamagni. Third type of irregular Agni is called as Tikshna Agni. Tikshna Agni. Tikshna means very quick, very sharp, and very fast. Here the digestive fire is disturbed by Pitta. What happens in such cases is that, suppose this is the normal digestive fire, the power of digestion goes from here to here. It goes really, really above normal. That means the food gets digested very quickly and produces hunger quickly. So individuals with Tikshna Agni often have insatiable appetite. That means they are always hungry. If they eat at 10 o'clock, they will feel hungry again at 11 o'clock. They tend to have large quantities of foods on a regular basis, and such people cannot tolerate appetite at all. They cannot tolerate hunger. They also experience other Pitta related symptoms like hyperacidity, indigestion, acidic indigestion, there is gastritis, there is hot flashes, heartburn, fever most often, lips, throat, palate all become very, very dry after eating. And other systemic symptoms of Tikshnaagni include people tend to have low blood sugars, they tend to have diarrhea frequently, loose stools frequently, they might have pain in the right side, that is right side of the abdomen, that is in the liver area, inflammatory conditions of the gut like ulcerative colitis, etc. And people with Tikshnaagni often have skin conditions like hives, rash and acne on them. Emotionally speaking, Tikshnaagni tends to trigger anger, irritability and aggressiveness in people. And another clue for identifying this is people who have intense sweet cravings often have Tikshnaagni in their digestive fire. How to correct this? Through diet. You have to talk to your Ayurvedic practitioner on how to balance Pitta dosha. You have to enjoy a variety of energetically cooling foods and things like coconut, fennel and mint. You need to include that a lot in your diet. You have to include ghee. You have to include cooling oils, sunflower oil or coconut oil in your diet. And when it comes to lifestyle, practice Shitali Pranayama, not the other heating kind of pranayama. You need to practice Shitali Pranayama to cool and soothe down the cells and body tissues. We also recommend Nadi Shodhana Pranayama as an alternative. Meditation and other quiet practices that calm our mind, that soothe our anxiety, the heated emotions that are associated with Pitta and Tikshnaagni is definitely recommended. Now when it comes to herbs, you need to talk to your Ayurvedic practitioner about Pitta balancing herbs. Personally, we recommend Avipattikara Churna, which is wonderful for balancing high Pitta and also is excellent for digestive tract. And to those who are taking Triphala, I would say consider taking Amlaki in higher amounts, because Amlaki is very good in balancing Pitta if the Pitta is primary concern in this case. Then your exercise routine shouldn't be overly intense. It should be very, very relaxed. Light jogging, light swimming, cycling, preferably morning or the evening time, is definitely recommended in cases of Tikshnaagni. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you for watching. The last and the most important one is Mandagni. Manda in Sanskrit means slow. Here the digestive fire is disturbed by Kapha dosha. And the meaning of Mandagni is slow digestion, slow digestive capacity. People who have this, they eat very, very little. And even if they eat that little quantity of food, they are not able to digest it. They are never hungry. It dulls the appetite. It slows down the metabolism and it causes people to experience heaviness in the stomach. They feel heavy in the body and sometimes in the mind as well. Most often the heaviness is there, especially after you eat even small quantities of food. You know people around you who have frequent attacks of cold, frequent congestion of sinuses, frequent coughs, allergies, people who have swelling, lymph congestion, excessive mucus. All of these are striking features of Mandagni. Systematically speaking, it also causes over salivation, it causes nausea, there is hypertension, there is diabetes, there is hypothyroid. People with hypothyroid have almost always have Mandagni. There is excess weight gain, there is obesity, and people always have cold and clammy skin, and they always complain of generalized weakness and fatigue. All of these are signs for identifying Mandagni. Mentally, emotionally, it may cause lethargy, fatigue, and people with Mandagni always sleep in excess. This kind of Agni can also elicit a very, very strong craving for dry, hot and spicy foods. That is, people who have Mandagni, they always crave for very hot and spicy foods. So I hope I am clear on identification parameters of Mandagni, and I'll tell you why Mandagni is the most important of all these types. I'll just give you the recommendations right away. When you know that there is somebody who is suffering from Mandagni, you have to give them a Kapha pacifying diet, that is a Kapha reducing diet. Focus on very light meals, dry meals and easily digestible foods. You have to include foods which are energetically heating, that is, include a lot of spices in your diet. Minimize that oil and fat if you are using that in excess. For people who are having a Kapha imbalance, please prefer sunflower oil, but very, very sparingly. Please use it very, very sparingly. Warm, hot beverages, warm, hot soups are recommended. There are herbal teas with ginger, cinnamon, cardamom, etc. that can liquefy and eliminate excess kapha. That is again recommended. I advise my patients who are having Mandagni not to snack frequently. I tell them to have 3 square meals, that is breakfast, lunch and dinner, and nothing in between. And lunch should be the main meal of the day, and people having Mandagni should eat very little food for breakfast, very little food for dinner. That is, the quantity should be small. When it comes to lifestyle, make sure that exercise is vigorous, it should be fun, it should be stimulating to reduce the kapha. Activities like walking, hiking, cycling, high intensity level trainings are recommended for these people. Sun salutations each morning, practice Bhastrika Pranayama. Yes, KM, I'll answer your questions, just give me a second. And the herbs that are included for treating Mandagni include Trikatu, the combination of Pipali, Shunti and Maricha. It's a very powerful formula that can be sprinkled on the food. It can be taken with the first morsel of food. It tends to reduce the kapha and improve the appetite and digestion as well. And the recommendation that I gave for Vishamagni, which is having a slice of ginger mixed with a pinch of salt and having it 30 minutes before your meals, it goes for Mandagni also. KM, coming to your question, ghee doesn't go well with all Agni states. I would not recommend ghee to be taken in Mandagni because it is heavy to digest, and we cannot give it in states where the digestive power is very, very low. However, I do recommend ghee in Tikshnagni because that is anti-pitta. Ghee is anti-pitta, so Tikshnagni first and Vishamagni is second. Definitely not Mandagni. Okay, I hope I am clear there. Irrespective of what kind of Agni you have, there are certain rules that you can do on a daily basis, that you can follow on a daily basis to prevent impaired appetite and digestion in daily life. These are pretty simple ones, we hear them every day, but if you understand the importance of implementing them, you will start them right away with stringent discipline. The first thing what I tell all my patients is to have 1 glass of hot water. Don't mix anything, don't mix honey, don't mix anything in it. Just 1 glass of hot water is enough after waking up, after brushing your teeth, after cleaning your tongue. It prevents toxin accumulation. It also stimulates the stimulates the intestines to work better and removes the toxins from the body. Second thing is eat freshly prepared food. And the third and the most important one is eat only when you are hungry. I cannot put enough emphasis on this. Please eat your food only when you are hungry. That is your body's sign. It is telling you that yes, now you can give me the feed and now I am ready to digest it. Chew your food well. The more you chew your food, the more nutrients will be available for absorption into the stomach and then into the blood plasma. Then the water rules, which is very, very important. According to Ayurveda, it is not beneficial to drink plenty of water right before you take a meal. That is, you can take 1 or 2 sips of water before a meal just to clear your oral cavity. But the right time to drink water is almost 20 to 30 minutes after you finish the meal. You can have some small sips in between the meal to help gulp the food down into your stomach, but not more than that. So the right time to have water is 20 to 30 minutes after. And another word of caution is do not drink cold water more frequently. I would recommend room temperature water or lukewarm water according to the seasons what we are going through, because 2 things about cold water you guys have to remember is that cold water slows down the digestion and cold water promotes inflammation. So if you know somebody who is having Mandagni and he is taking cold water, please stop them right away. People with Mandagni need to drink lukewarm water in as much quantity as possible. And the last tip of the day is following the 100 steps after dinner rule. I was mesmerized when I read this in Sushruta Samhita when I was doing my undergraduation. After dinner, it is always good to go for a slow walk, preferably a walk of 100 steps. After dinner, this is recommended by our acharyas. This improves digestion. Not just that, it is very, very important to balance the level of sugar in the blood that appears right after a meal. No other exercise should be done after dinner, but please start practicing this 100 steps walk. I know that many of you have calls, you have meetings, and you can just grab the phone, do the 100 steps. and then go back and sit on the sofa right after dinner. And also please remember that you need to keep a 2-hour gap between dinner time and your sleep time. Do not sleep immediately after any meal, because that again is a cause of indigestion. Lastly, there is a specific diet for each kind of constitution, which is Vata, Pitta and Kapha. You can book an appointment with us. You can understand what is your constitution and what kind of diet you need to follow, because Ayurveda is a very personalized medicine. It is not a generalized medicine where the tips go well with everybody. If I can just give you an example, if there is a person with Tikshna Agni, he is having a Pitta abnormality, and if he takes ginger with salt that I recommended for indigestion, it's going to cause heartburn, it's going to cause gastritis and whatnot. So to understand individualized recommendations, you can call us, you can write to us, and we'll be happy to help you. So that's it for today, guys. I hope these assessments and general recommendations were useful to you. Please remember that if the digestive system works well and properly, many of the diseases can be prevented and problems that have already occurred can be eliminated. If you are interested further in understanding the concepts of Agni, Ama and your personalized diet, please write to us and contact us at ayurveda.com, and we will be happy to help you. You can also send your health concerns in this email. So my window is now open for questions. I can see that KM, you asked, it is said that Vajrasana is good after a meal. Yes, KM, Vajrasana is the only asana that is recommended. 100 steps after dinner and Vajrasana is definitely recommended, and nothing beyond that. I am open for questions if there is anything else that you want me to answer. I see a lot of my friends have logged in. Hi Avinash, you're still there. Anything else, guys? Anything related to the kinds of Agni? Did somebody type it? I can see that Rajgopal typed it. So let me just rephrase it one more time. It is Samagni, which is the healthy one, Vishamagni, Tikshnagni and Mandagni. Alright? Okay. Just 2 seconds there. My topic for the next Facebook Live is irritable bowel syndrome. If you have any queries related to that, if you want me to talk on any particular topic, apart from this, you can always write to us and let us know, and we will follow it up in the does Ayurveda offer telemedicine? Yes, we are right now offering. Obviously, because of the pandemic, we do not expect people to visit us that regularly, but we want to help as many as we can, and we do offer telemedicine service. Yes, yeah. So okay. Alright, okay. So I'll see you next week on irritable bowel syndrome. Till then, stay safe and have a good day.